Yo, what up guys, it's me KingStix. Today I'm going to be showing you just how strong Tristana jungle can be. I did make some critical mistakes in this game and I'll be showing you how to correct those, but in general this game was pretty smooth in what Tristana should look like if you're operating her relatively correctly. First things first, you're going to want to start with your bot lane to get the best leash possible. Your initial clear route should only include blue, gromp, and red buff. You really want to ignore wolves, raptors, and golems before your first gank or before you take your first scuttle crab. You'll lose a lot of HP on them and they'll take a while to take. Your first smite you'll typically be using on the gromp. You don't typically need to use smite on blue buff or red buff unless you have zero idea how to move and shoot. Always start with your E on your first camp and then take your Q at level 2. You can take your W at level 2 if you want to cheese gank, but I don't recommend ganking on Tristana until you are level 3. You'll be missing out on a lot of damage and kill securing power. You might as well get your red, your blue, and your gromp for the easy level 3, then gank with double buffs and all 3 of your abilities. This is the first major mistake I made this game. Never kite the red buff to the right initially. You only want to kite it this way if you're going that way to gank. The red buff can't be pulled very far towards the raptor camp. It resets very easily. You would only pull it this way towards the end as you're finishing it off towards your next gank. Normally you want to kite it around north towards golems or towards one of the side lanes, being top lane or bot lane, depending on which side of the map you are. But whenever you pull it towards raptors, it's a much shorter leash and it will reset much faster. You'll also take less damage by pulling it up or pulling it towards the side lane, since you can walk it farther before it tries to reset. I took way more damage than I should have taken, and obviously it took way longer than it should have taken. Tristana's W has a really long startup animation. You can cancel this out by using your W outside of the enemy's vision and then flashing to extend the length of your W and to also take away the enemy's reaction time to you using your W. In midair, hit them with your E, and then upon landing, immediately activate your Q to blast them super fast. 𝐒𝐿 had roughly 3/5 HP and we killed him all on our own, even though he used his flash. Something that many people don't realize is Tristana's base damage on her W level 1 is insane. As far as I know, it is the highest level 1 base damage ability in the game that is a non-ultimate. At 95 base damage, you'll be hard pressed to find any ability at level 1 with a higher base damage than that. Once again, a non-ultimate ability. It also has a massive slow, so if possible, hitting the enemies with it is super valuable in a gank. I'm on my way bot lane because I see Jinx is pushed up. I hit the scuttle a little bit to heal. I hit her with my W, E her in midair, and Q. Your E and your ultimate you can both use in midair, guys, so while you are traveling in midair and you can't auto attack, you might as well use your E, and in some cases you will be using your ultimate while you are in midair as well. On Tristana, as long as you come from behind the enemies in ganks, they'll usually turn out in a kill. Much better than a normal jungler, since Tristana doesn't really have any skill shots to land. Her auto attacks are ranged and free. She has much less distance to close than a traditional jungler would have to close to be able to do damage. She does usually take a little bit longer on scuttle crab since she doesn't have any hard CC. It's really not too bad though. Once again, enemy laners pushed up, come behind them with your W, E, and Q them. Really simple kills. It's a lot better than Twitch in a lot of ways. Tristana's a tankier, better base stats, and with her gap closer, she can get in more reliably. If the enemies see you with a pink ward on Twitch, they just run away. If they see you with a pink ward on Tristana, by the time they react, a lot of the times you can jump on them anyways. Same thing with Kindred. Tristana jump is way longer, so if your teammate's in trouble or if the enemy's a little bit out of position, you just jump out on them and mess them up really hard. That's why I think Tristana jungle has a lot of potential. Something I will say about it though is early gold reliant like Twitch jungle, just not quite as so. But if you do get one kill in your first clear route, you'll be sitting very pretty and it scales very well. A final thing I want to mention comparing Tristana to Twitch and Kindred jungle is Tristana's AoE clears are significantly better with her E passive and active. She rips apart AoE camps really well once she does have her Hunter Talisman item and has a few points in her E. She can chomp through a raptor camp pretty much instantly. Once again, guys, in general, I recommend taking red, blue, and gromp to get your level 3 double buffs as fast as possible, and I do recommend skipping AoE monster camps on your first initial clear since it will waste a lot of your time and a lot of HP. I showed the runes level order and build order in the first 3 seconds of the video, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out there. I just want to talk about the rune choice on Tristana. The main thing is taking press the attack. If your team already has a press the attack champion, if you know your AD carry is already going to take it, then you might consider going for something else, like going for Conqueror or for Lethal Tempo. But in general, pressing attack is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck on Tristana jungle. Secondly, you want to go for Warrior over Blood Razor on Tristana. She has really good AD scaling on her E. Very, very spicy. Not only that, but she already has an insane attack speed steroid on her Q. Whenever it's maxed out, it gives over 100% attack speed for like 7 seconds. So if you stack up too many attack speed items, you'll be overflowing and won't be getting very much value out of it, since attack speed hard caps at 2.5. If you don't know where the enemy jungler is on Tristana, I don't recommend walking around with less than half HP because you are susceptible to getting killed. Even though you can get away better than most junglers can with your big jump, it is still very dangerous. So in this case, instead of going for a gank or invading 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐂, first I go for the Scuttle Crab. I go all the way from below half HP up to full HP off of my healing for my jungle item, and we also did take Bloodline in our runes. Once again, go to the 3-second mark to see the runes in the setup. When you're coming up behind the enemies, unless you need to close the distance fast to save your teammate's life, don't use your W immediately because they can juke you out at max range. Plus, if you are behind them, they're not likely to run where you think they're going to run because they'll be very desperate and they'll just try to run any way they think they can get away. So in this case, I mess up my W. We don't kill the Echo. Luckily, LeBlanc does land the chain on 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐂, and I follow it up with my W, and we get the kill. Now that 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐂's dead, I can push into his jungle, take what I want. In this case, I see Nars push, so I'm going to go for that. Tristana isn't great in every situation. She's not a flex pick jungler like Olaf or Mundo. I wouldn't recommend picking her unless you have at least one laner who has a hard dash / gap closer. A hard dash or an insta dash would be something like a LeBlanc or a Zed. So whenever you jump in, they can immediately follow up and vice versa. When using your ultimate on Tristana, you generally want to use it last since it pushes enemies away, and it also packs a surprising punch. It does have the same exact range as your auto attacks. So typically you use it after you already pinch off an auto attack and then ult, or you ult and then auto attack them as they're flying away. Autoing them as they're flying away only works though if you're still on your Q attack speed steroid or if you have a lot of attack speed items. Something you should also be doing on Tristana is banning Yasuo. Every single game, you need to be banning him. He counters you really hard. If he gets ahead, you'll be screwed. And in general, he is a massive nuisance for her. It's the same thing if you're playing Twitch or a Kindred usually. You typically want to be banning Yasuo or Jax. In my experience, Tristana does a lot better against Jax than she does against Yasuo because of the way Yasuo's win wall functions. It saves not only him, but his whole team. And if Jax uses his E and jumps on you, if you're playing Tristana, you can just ult him off at you. Try to get red lens on your first back, or if you use your warding totem to keep watch, you should be getting your red lens before your first monster camp. Echo's over push, so I engage with my W to help out LeBlanc since it's a fight to the death. Gnar is in this fight, so I'm pathing away from him, and then a random Jinx rocket with the AoE of a Fiddle ult killed me. It's an unfortunate situation, but hey, it happens. You're playing a squishy champion. Tristana jungle has a lot of item choices. You can go for more of an attack speed crit build. You can go for more of a middle ground build with having things like a Guardian Angel if you don't have a front line. Also getting a lifeline item, or you can be really aggressive and rush Sanguine Blade as your second item after your tier 2 boots. It's good to hover towards the middle of the map on Tristana. Ganking mid lane is very easy for her with her W, assuming the enemy isn't underneath their turret. Here, once again, Echo's pushed up. I jump on top of him, E in midair, and auto him to death. Something I really like about Tristana compared to most junglers, or ranged junglers specifically, is how fast she can take turrets. After you get a kill in lane, you can stay to break the turret with your E and Q and shred it super fast, making Tristana an amazing smurfing champion or an amazing champion to close out games. In this case, I went for Dragon instead because I wanted to help Vayne, just in case someone tried to steal it from her. Similar to 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐂 jungle on Tristana, bushes and walls are your best friend. Just make sure your Oracle lens is up or you have a pink ward. That way you're not just sitting there on an enemy ward for 2 minutes. Since we have a pink ward, I felt confident. Let the enemies push up before you go out. I waited probably 15-20 seconds. We get the kill on Taric. Now that Jinx is isolated, I want to try to get behind her. Especially in mid or low elo, people will be greedy and stay under their turret. So if you immediately go to path around them, you can oftentimes pick up the kill. I realize she's running, so I use my W immediately over the wall. I EQ her and finish her off. That is the amazing burst damage of Tristana. If I was Twitch there, I don't think I would have been able to get the kill, since Twitch takes longer to get there with his invisibility speed up rather than an insane jump. Assuming Jinx would have kept running to her turret, of course. In the late game as Tristana, you don't want to be the only person tanking on your team. As long as you have somebody with you or somebody tanking for you, you can survive long enough to get your jump resets. Whenever you full proc your E or get a kill or assist, you'll get a jump reset. Here we go onto Taric, we kill him, which gives me the jump reset. I can then jump onto the Jinx for a fast cleanup. This is something I really love about Tristana in solo queue. You'll run into these situations all the time where you can wrap up fights super fast, then push for an objective. Even though I'm low on health, since I am a range champion, I can still help my teammates. Since my teammates have Echo walled off, Echo's abilities are down, I'm very safe to auto him from range. If I was a melee champion, imagine me trying to get in there and actually help. In team fights, if you don't have anybody to pick, you need to hold on to your W to get away out of a bad situation. Here the Taric and Echo collapse on me hard. If my W was down, I might have died there. Instead, I got to safety, plowed them with my EQ and ultimate, and we wiped them clean. The only time you should be using your W to start out with is if you're getting a clean pick or catching somebody out of position. Otherwise, you need to be holding on to it for escape purposes. And like we talked about, Tristana is amazing for wrapping up games because her W and E can both be used on turrets. She's probably the fastest turret taking champion in the game because of it. And that is going to wrap up this Tristana commentary guide. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more jungle content like it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out immensely with the YouTube algorithm. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.